to lead enterprise change across the world. In fact, I used to lead teams. We go in, we change, we train everybody up on a different suite of systems. We'd flip a switch 5.5 months later, convert all the data on a Friday, Monday morning, everybody's doing something different. Big bang, we changed every single process in the company at once. And I did that in companies in Egypt, Netherlands, Italy, and Japan. So I not only did it in different sized different companies, so forth, I did it across different cultures. So what I'd like to share with you today are the 3 things that I found that are instrumental in driving change. You know, there's lots of things you need to understand. You need to follow a methodology. You need to have a structure to when you're driving change. But I found that when everything I was doing, there was 3 key things that made my change much more successful. And then after I did all those changes, in fact, I did all those changes by the age of 33. And then later in my career, I led international operations, primarily in Europe, Middle East, Eastern Europe, Africa. So I was mostly outside the US. In fact, if you hear from my voice, I'm an American, the accent, I'm American, but I'm married to a Japanese, and I lived outside of the US for over 35 years. So I want to share with you now is the 3 Ps that I found to be most powerful. It's people, plans, and politics. If you think about it, everything starts with people. You've got to have some type of plan to organize people to all work together and achieve and align people to do things. And like anything in life, it's relationships that make things happen, and particularly in companies. And if I were to ask you the question and say, you know, can your organizations be successful if people only follow documented processes? You'd probably say no. It's the relationships, it's the informal things that make things happen. So these are the 3 things I'm going to cover today. I might ask you to respond back on some things via the chat. And as Marlon said, we'll do a couple of breakouts as well. But one thing I want to share with you right up front, because if you think about it, if you're going to drive change, you're going to have people with you in making this change. And you know, there's a couple things in here in terms of why people follow you. And you really have to understand this, you know, because it's important to understand why they're following you, because how you get their engagement on the change and how long you have their support along the way as well. So there's 3 reasons why people follow you. First reason is they follow you for you. You know, your integrity, the type of person you are. They want to learn from you, your strong character. So they're following you very closely because they want to work with you. And they feel that they're going to grow faster by working with you as well. And so, you know, that's the reason they're following you. There's a second reason they're following you, could be following you, is that they're for what you want to achieve. They believe in that. They believe that this is what I think is the right thing to do. So they're going to help you make that happen. And that's really what their goal is, right? They might believe, they might, you know, trust you and so forth, but they're really, the strong driver behind it is not you. It's what you're trying to drive and what you're trying to change. And the third reason is they're for what you're against, right? In other words, you're fighting the same things. You want to make a change because you're against the way certain things are working. So they're against it with you. And so, you know, they're going to help you because they're against the same thing you're against. Now, think about this, you know, and so think why they're with you. If you think about the for and against, once you complete the change, all right, if they're for that change, they might be going and looking for the next change. So they may not be with you on the next change because you might have thought they're with you because of you, but they're only with you because of what you're for. And the same thing with against. When you achieve something that you were against, then, and they're looking for the next thing they're going to be against, or the next thing they want to fight. So the for and against, they're not necessarily going to be with you forever. They're with you for that change, but they might not be with you for the next change. Okay, so keep in mind that. But the other thing to really think about here too is when they're for you, when they're following you and they're doing the change for you. Now, what's interesting is that they're going to want to spend more time with you. right? So if you don't give them the time, or if you don't give them the time that they think they would need, or because they want to learn from you and grow, they'll be disappointed. So sometimes the people that are so strongly for you will be not the best people with you on the change, because they're going to want so much of your time and so much of your involvement. So if you know that someone is for you and they're following you for you, you got to be careful, because they're going to want to expect that time. And I know some people that they had this situation, and then people actually left the company because they weren't getting enough time with the leader when they really wanted to grow them fast that way. So if you think about it, if you're really trying to leverage, your time and other people's times, you don't want people around you that are only in the change only for you, because you're not going to give them the time necessary. You want people that are around for you, but also you want people around you who are actually really for the change you're going to drive. Because if they're not there for you and they're for the change, they can do a lot more things on their own, and they won't be coming to you all the time, and they're not expecting that time from you. But just give you a quick tip. Whenever you have people wanting to follow you because of you, and maybe you might not have the time for them, try to get them a mentor. Try to get them someone alongside that will help them grow, so they don't feel a hole of not growing as fast because they're not with you. Okay, so keep in mind this, and I've experienced people following me for all three of these categories. And once I learned this, I started thinking about why they were following me, because I wanted to know the motivations that way. Okay, so successful change starts with the people here, and understanding why they're following you is really, really key to how you have to work with them to keep them really, motivated and, reinforced around helping you make that change. Okay, so remember, they're following either you for what you want to achieve, they're for it, or they're what you're against. And the for and against might not be with you the next time, depending on the change you're going to drive. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, the three things we're going to cover today is people, plans, and politics. What I found is everything starts with people, right? The people you involve in that. And let me, just a quick one, and we'll go through people in detail, but the quality of the people you put on the change indicates to everyone else the importance of the change. So a lot of times you say, well, I have to drive this change, but I can't pull this person out of the day to day, or, the business will fall apart. So, but if you don't put your best people on it, people view the change as not the main course, it's the side salad. It's not really what has to be done. So as much as you can, you think about that first. The second thing is plans. You got to be able to explain how it's going to happen. And we'll talk about this in detail, but think about what Eisenhower, one of the former generals and former presidents, said. He said, plans are worthless, but planning is indispensable. And that's the reason why you need to have plans. It has to show people proof that you did the planning. Because once you do some planning, and things change, and they always change, and plans are out of date the date you created it, you can adjust what you're doing quicker because you thought it through up front and you're able to explain it. And the third one is politics. Politics is in everything. And like anything in driving change, often it's managing the key relationships around the change that will make things happen. And a lot of times people say to me, I don't like playing politics. I avoid politics and all these things. Politics is in everything. Think about this, before we had COVID and you had big gatherings at weddings, you know, you can see politics in your families, because there's certain aunts and uncles or nieces and nephews you cannot put on the same table in creating a wedding chart for your wedding reception. Okay, so there's politics in families just as it is in business. Okay, so remember these three as we go, and let's talk about the people side, and then I want to put you to work a little bit too. So the first thing I said is it's about getting your best people involved. Okay, so One of the key things, and one of the things about politics or other things, is relationships. If you have strong relationships with other leaders in the company, you have leverage to ask for their best people to support your project. But if you don't have strong relationships with other people in the company, you don't have the leverage to do that. Now, if you think about it, who are the best people you want to get involved? The best people are in this right side box, okay? The top right side box, the green box there. They're very good in performance and they're very good in behavior. And performance and behavior combination means that they can deliver and probably they have good emotional intelligence to work with others. And I viewed behavior this way. Behavior is living the values of the organization, but having the ability to work with others, to be a team player. And that's how I viewed behavior. So if you think about it, whenever you're driving projects and whenever you need sub leaders in your projects, your project leaders need to come from that type right-hand box, right? And so the people are high in behavior and good at behavior and high in performance. The other people, the people aren't as good, you're going to have to align, particularly the ones that are good in performance and poor in behavior, with a very strong leader. Okay. And the people that are, say, good in behavior but don't perform as well, you're going to have to align them with a leader who needs resources to get things done and so forth. But as much as you can, you want to fill your teams with people from that type right hand box. Okay. It's like anything, with the right people, the right things happen. With the wrong people, you can say the wrong things are going to happen, or you have a potential for those things. So keep in mind this. I tell you, one of the most powerful things you can do as a leader is to map your organization or your team into this type of grid. You start to realize who you need to invest more time in. And when I have talked to leaders often, the biggest mistake is they invest time with the black boxes more than the green box. The green box is driving the change. They're the extension of you driving the change when you're not around. So you need to make them as strong as possible so that they can influence the people around them. And so, a lot of times people would say, well, my best people in the change, they don't need my help as much. I'll help the others. Well, you're actually slowing things down when you're doing that. So as much as you can, think about that in terms of where you apply your time. I'll tell you an interesting story. I often tell it when I do the sessions, but I lived in Japan, but I was only in Japan for 2 weeks when this happened. And the lady would come through, pushing a cart, selling teas, coffees, candies, and everything. And one day she brought her daughter with her, but a young girl, and she didn't know how to say daughter in English to me. I didn't know how to say daughter in Japanese at that time. So she said to me, "This is my copy." This is my copy. You need to grow the green box because they will copy, the black boxes and so forth will copy them. And so you want very, very strong role models in key positions of any change because you want people to behave in similar ways. And the key thing here now is don't let the red box steal your time. Okay? If you must, get someone from the black boxes supporting the red box, and you'll be much better off. So give you a tip: focus on the green box, get the green box to help the black boxes, and the red box, you get them supported by the black boxes, but you don't come down. And think of it this way: if your people see you supporting the worst people in the change in the organization, do they look and say, wow, my boss has their priorities right? They're spending more time with the red box than they are with me, and they're not going to be very happy. So one last thing, and then we'll put you to work as well. The most powerful thing you can do to really motivate people for the change is to align the change to their potential. When you align the change to people's potential, they are willing to take on difficult challenges because they know they're going to grow and use their potential in doing that. So if you never aligned it to their potential, and then you give them something difficult to do in the change, they say you're dumping on me. But if you give them, talk about their potential first, align the change to their potential, they're almost saying, yes, I'm glad to take on this challenge and get the visibility because I'm going to use my potential. So let me ask you a quick question. Everybody on the call, type into the chat function right now. How often does your boss talk to you about your potential? Type into the chat function. How often does your boss talk to you about your potential? Let's see what people say on the call. Type into the chat function. Well, once every week. Apollo says not often. How about the rest of you? Only during performance reviews? Not often, rarely, not that often. Yeah. I inherited an organization one time that I came in and led. And I asked one of my leaders, when's the last time your boss talked to you about your potential? And he said to me this, I think you're asking me the wrong question. The question you should ask is, how often does, or what has my boss ever asked me about my potential? And it never happened. So here's the underutilized conversation that change managers don't have usually. They don't talk to their people, their key people, especially in the change, about their potential and lining up and the opportunities in the change for them to use their potential. People will struggle through and work on weaknesses in order to use their potential more. And when you align it to their potential, now they're doing the change, not only for you and for the company, they're doing it for themselves. And that's when you really get the power that way. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to put you in breakout rooms, and I'd like you to have a discussion about what are the abilities you need in people in that green box. If you're going to drive very successful change, what do the people need? What abilities do they need? What attributes do they need in order to drive successful change? So think about it. What's the criteria for picking people? They have to be good in performance and good in behavior, but they might need other different abilities or attributes in order to help you make that change. So if you can, we'll put you into groups, have a discussion about what is it, the type of people, how do you recognize the type of people who are good for you in driving this change? Okay? So Martin, if we can put people into breakout, and then we'll just pick a few when they come back and see what you came up with.
Okay, I've just created the rooms and it's done random assignment. So I'm going to open all the rooms, everyone. You'll find yourself in a room with about 4 or 5 other people. And it's very random, so you'll get to meet a few new people. Mark, how long do they have in the breakout room before they need to come back?
I think we give them about 10 minutes so they can say hello to each other and talk it through.
Okay.
Okay, and just to remind them of what they are discussing, in case some have joined just now.
The key thing is when you want people with you to drive the change, what are the abilities or attributes you are looking for in people to help you lead this change?
Okay, perfect. I'm opening all the rooms now. Mark and Marlon and Vicente, you don't have to join the rooms. It may invite you anyway, just just a heads up.
Yeah.
And if anybody is joining now, I will move them into a room. Mark, we have a few who may not be able to join or they haven't yet clicked join, but I'm sending them to rooms as they come in.
That's fine. That's okay. It's
Okay,
some
cool.
are maybe just in listening mode.
Yes, and some may be in transit or travel.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they come back, just if Marlon or Flo, you could
Yeah.
ask if they type into the chat function if they'd like to share what they talked about in their group, and we'll take a few of those.
Sure.
Okay.
If you could
perfect.
facilitate that, I might make some comments, and we'll do it that way.
That's fine.
Okay, good.
Cool.
So, Marlon and Flo, what's your biggest takeaway so far this morning?
Wow, there've been quite a few, hey? So for me, and I made a note and I highlighted it. For me, it was plans are worthless, but planning is indispensable.
Yeah.
Because there's such a focus on planning, but people get stressed about this plan being updated to death. But it's actually the planning process that enables you to work with all the people and all the teams properly. So for me, from a plan point of view, and also picking your best people, that is priceless, because projects do exactly the opposite. A lot of change leaders do the opposite. They put people who they're not sure where to put, but then they can't expect success. So I love that.
No one listens to them. No one listens to them. So if you have your best people, when they show up in a room, people are listening from the very first word.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think my takeaway is that as human, with human nature, just the separation of where you need to expand your efforts in terms of people as well. So I like that diagram that you had right there. To say this is where your time wasters belong. Don't have much energy around them. I think human nature normally dictates that you give your attention equally anyway. So I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, that's the problem. There is no such thing as fair, right? Because fair is just the perception of each person.
That's it.
Right. So there is no such thing as fair. So it's being consistent. So you spend more time with people who are making the bigger impact, and and the reason is they're role models. You need strong role models to extend your influence.
That's it.
Yeah, I do like that that role modeling, almost the principle, because to your point, we as humans, and I don't know if it's to you, I don't know what you think of this, but to me, it's almost like our basic human behavior is we learn from others. We learn from observing. We learn from, even if you think of generational knowledge, I learned from my grandmother. I learned from my mother. I learned. So in the corporate world, I don't think that changes. What do you think?
Exactly. I mean, you learn by working with others. You learn by copying and seeing what works. It's like anything, the people who learn to change the world observe the world. So you can't learn by if you're not observing. But if you're observing the wrong thing, you're going to learn the wrong thing.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah. I'm going to take a visit to some of the rooms. I think we have people that have been allocated and they joined now.
Okay.
And those of you, as much as possible, who are still haven't joined, please do so. And unless there's something that you're also attending to and you're in listening mode. All right. So I'll visit the rooms one by one. Shortly. Okay. I'll join you guys shortly.
And to the guys who've just joined, I've got about 4 of you who are not in rooms, so I'll just assign you to a breakout room. There's nothing else you need to do.
Yeah.
Or is that not that important?
Hey, guys.
It's important too. Hi.
How are you doing? Yeah. Just checking up. Also want to introduce myself. I feel so left out in the breakout rooms.
I feel welcome, Marlon. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, Rory. Nice meeting the rest of you. All right.
Nice meeting you too.
My room tours. I'll not disturb you guys. Okay. We'll chat.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Bye.
Find similarities that you maybe were not expecting to find.
Oh, between America and there, or just between countries?
Just between countries.
Yeah, I mean, I think
and they believe in the change. And I think, Melissa, to be kind of supporting what you said in terms of influence, I think they need to have credibility as well. People need to know that, you know, and it goes back to the trust issue, that they can be trusted, and that they have credibility.
Right, agree. And the other thing that I will say is that we cannot hear you, Marlon.
Oh, sorry, no, I feel so left out. I feel so left out. I just want to join every room and also get to see what's going on. So let me not disturb you. Please carry on.
Nice to see you, Marlon.
Okay, cool. Muriel.
Hello. We cannot
I received your
yes. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, but we were trying to make our discussion, and one of our colleagues cannot speak, Ramana. So
right.
we are trying to help him with the audio, but we can't. Can you please try to help him, Ramana?
Okay, Ramana. All right. What exactly do I need to do? Is it maybe chat? Put in the chat area. Would that help?
I think because I already spoke, Sinara already spoke, and we are missing his thoughts because he cannot use the audio.
All right. Oh my. Okay. Would it be possible, because you do have the chat function within the rooms, maybe to make use of that alternatively?
Okay.
All right. I think let's.
Okay.
All right, Muriel. Okay, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good meeting you guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Kiss, bow, and shake hands.
Yeah.
And it was that one. It was about culture, and it spoke very much also about the differences with direct, indirect culture, with
be with you if you want to make the change. That's my way of seeing the things. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I have here influential people that can influence others, and I also have people with positive attitude.
Yeah. For me,
I feel so left out, so I thought let me take a tour of the rooms. Please carry on. Okay.
I'm sorry.
For me, I've always found one thing that is this is something that
America, Middle East, maybe even Philippines too.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring everyone back.
It sounds good. Hi, Marlon.
Hey, everyone. How are you? I feel so left out. I just thought, let me take a tour of the rooms, eh? How are we doing? Please carry on.
Right.
You know me.
I don't know. Maybe Carla or Patricia is going to be our
speaker.
I guess Carla. Carla is leading
Yes.
this change.
Awesome. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I think we are, I'm going to close the rooms now. I think I did close them, but let me do it again. Okay, there we go. I had half closed them, not completely. So now everybody's flooding back.
There we go. Great.
Now they're coming.
Yeah,
Okay.
now they're coming. Marlon, you're welcome to take over in terms of some feedback from the guys. I'll just give you a heads up on who was in what room. Not that it really matters, but
yeah.
Is
we'll
everybody back?
Oh, they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, they're there. Here they come now.
Here we
The
go.
numbers. 20 seconds. It's now doing a countdown. 15 seconds. Yeah, no, they're all coming back now.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Perfect. All right, guys. So just feedback, purely voluntary from each one of you, each one of the groups. Please, you can unmute and go for it.
Yeah, and even if you go 2 or 3 groups, that's also
assuming in some groups, I heard people being appointed as spokespeople. So if you do have your spokesperson, please go for it. All right, in any random order will do. And you can also make use of the chat area as well. You know, if you want to give extra contributions around, you know, just the feedback we're going to get now. All right, we all
Okay,
here.
in my
Right?
group,
this is oh, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. You want to go ahead? In my group, we had two members, Dima and Russo, I think. And what we discussed is that what I felt was the role of a leader in driving change is something like an anchor. So a team is looking for somebody who can play the role of an anchor when things are going haywire, when things are uncertain. They're looking for somebody who has that composure, who can lead them in times of change. So first attribute would be being an anchor. The second attribute is being self-aware. So before leading others, we have to have an awareness of our own abilities, our own emotional quotient to lead others. And finally, I would say critical decision making. So not only in times of crisis, even in good times, you have to be able to make those critical decisions. And some of my members, Dima, thought that one important quality is being present in the situation. Being present, a leader has to be present in the situation. And about Rico's, she had a few points. One is being committed to change, then being involved and able to mobilize the team and also convince them that this change is important.
Yeah.
And finally, about the team being able to understand why this change is happening in the first place. Why is this change happening? So these were the points that we discussed. Thank you.
You're on mute, Marlon.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. Thanks a lot, Sanjeev. I hope you haven't stolen everyone's thunder there, right? That's comprehensive.
Hey, just one comment here. You mentioned about an anchor. The best anchor is the person who has the ability to keep their perspective, right? They keep their perspective and not let things go crazy. In leadership, I found you always have to remain calm. You should not be surprised, right? You should not act surprised because you lose some influence. The only time you should act surprised is when you're negotiating. And someone says something, you want to act surprised to have some leverage. But keep a good perspective, they become a great anchor. Okay,
that's
good.
Excellent. All right.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Digiting from Group 7. We spoke about being the leader being a good communicator, someone who's not just communicating at one level, but be able to speak to all different levels at all different people, being a strategic communicator as well. Being empathetic speaker, someone who's able to empathize with the people where they are, meet them from where they are. Someone who's a strategic visionary and a thinker. You want someone who's going to be able to see the bigger picture and not just the current change that you're currently talking about. Someone who's an inspirational leader, who's able to draw others as well, and someone who has good emotional intelligence. So those were the notes that we discussed.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for that. Any further contributions to what Masibuk was just outlined? Any comments?
We were in the group 1, so we talked also about to have a positive mindset and be open for new ideas, and of course communication skills, and also active listening skills. It's important, you know.
Very important. Very important. Thank you so much, Helen.
Yeah, in group 3, I had Muarazi, Mundia, and Joe. We spoke about people with who are influential in a broader sense of being able to influence people with positive attitude. She just mentioned positive mindset. I think we're talking the same thing. We said that we need people who have some people management skills. That was just as a broad attribute. And then the one interesting, and then people who you need to be able to build relationships with those people. So we would need also people who can build relationships. An interesting point that was raised was you need to identify your people, and then you need some people that you can pull, because some people need to be pulled or to be pushed. If you believe that they can help you, then nudge them and get them into your corner, into the green box, so that they can help you.
Very good.
All right.
Very good.
All right. Precisely.
Very good.
Thank you so much for that. I think we're picking up some common themes that are running across from the feedback we're getting.
I think there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned.
Okay, George, go for it.
Yeah, George from Kenya here. I was in
Hi,
the group,
George.
the group one, Helen and Rory.
Oh,
And
here we go.
I think one thing I haven't had anybody talk about is negotiation skills. I mean, your ability to ensure that I've watched interviews, you know, people coming from all sorts of thinking, you know, have their ideas appreciated and, you know, pumped into the same box. Otherwise, you know what happens? People get into change mode with the thinking of what is in it for me, as opposed to what is in it for us. So taking a walk from one end of the room to the other end of the room requires huge negotiation skills. Thank you.
That's a good one, George.
Yeah.
And we also have a couple of new things over there. One was regarding the authority and the influence that the person has to have. Like, for example, at the end, you can like sell very nice the change and try to engage everybody, but it has to be someone that says it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be something that is going to occur at the end. So it has to be like some kind of responsibility and influence, and also a little bit of achieve, like be able to take it like as a responsibility and make it to occur. And the other thing that we were also talking about is trust, and you have to find someone that the people actually trust and that is reliable, so that can make it occur.
Yeah, trust is huge. Hey, very great feedback there. You know, you really, you know, the last two is very interesting. You have to have good influencing skills. You have to be able to negotiate. You have to be able to influence others, and you have to be able to understand what's happening in the other people's heads. And it's always a combination of authority and influence, right? If you don't have the authority, you have to have more influencing skills. But think about this: if you have the authority and all you do is use your authority all the time, people feel that you're pushed along all the time. In other words, you have to use a right combination of authority and influence. So if you really want people to help you with a change, make sure you have people with great influencing skills. And the start of that is self-awareness. And the other thing, which is very interesting, is people are very self-aware and they have good influence when they can join the conversation already happening in the other person's head.
That's it. That's it.
Then you know you have the influence. Good. So let's go
Yeah.
on. So we have a couple other things we need to cover. And we'll cover this. We'll give you some time for peer coaching at the end. But let me just share with you back is that, you know, you want to focus on the people. And here's an attribute for people that is so important, is you want O type of people. Now, let me show you this grid. So you have, you know, uncertainty on the left side, you have complexity. And if you think about where today's world is very uncertain, very complex. But if you think about where the world was before all the information, communication capabilities and everything, the world was much simpler. It was down the lower side. In that type of world, you could find a perfect answer to things, right? I mean, there's an answer because the world was simpler. In today's world, especially when you're driving change, there's never a perfect answer or a perfect solution to things. There's only options. And so you need people who can think in options. You need people with good business judgment to make those quick decisions with those options too. So you need people who can think in options and make decisions, choose the best one, and keep moving forward. And what I found is a lot of times people, when they start their career, especially for technical types or engineers or IT people, whatever, or even lawyers and so forth, they start their careers as A's. They're like perfectionists. They're always searching for the perfect answer. And if you're searching for the perfect answer, you won't find it. And you're going to ask the boss what to do. You need people who can think for themselves. And I call them the O people, the options people. They can think in options. And what I found too is whenever my people came to me with an issue, I always asked them, what options do you think we have? And here's my thinking. If they couldn't think of more than one option, maybe they don't know their job well enough, right? If they can only think of one. So keep in mind that. And just an interesting tip, fact for you guys. Look at the bottom left corner. Think of a person 200 years ago in their whole lifetime. What they experience in terms of data, information, and everything is now in one single online paper, one daily online paper. So you think about it, we're bombarded with so much information, so many things are available. If you're always trying to find the perfect option and try to know everything, you're going to be too slow. So you need people who can think in options. You need people who can make quick decisions about them and keep moving forward. I'll tell you, the worst people you can have in your change project is too many perfectionists. Because you have too many perfectionists, things just won't get done. Now, if you have a change team, you want a combination of O's and A's. But in any leadership position, you never want an A. You always want an O, someone who can think in options. Okay, so keep that in mind in terms of the people, and that's the people you need. Now, basically, you want to build the strongest team possible. Okay, the team around you will make it happen, right? It's the people that drive the success. It's not just the plan you have, and we'll talk about that. It's the people that really make it happen. There's a very interesting story. There's a story about a father who was trying to work on a Sunday afternoon on something, and his young son was wanting to play, and he wanted to get something done, and his young son kept bothering him. So he takes a magazine. He saw a magazine page had the world, had a map of the world on it. So he tore the magazine page up and asked his son to put the world back together again. And he thought it would take his son maybe an hour to do it. His son comes back in 5 minutes with everything put together. He said, "How did you do that?" He said, "On the other side of the paper was a person's face. When I put the face together, the world was right. When you get the people right, the delivery is right." Okay? So a lot of times people work about, I need the plan, I need to work out the structures, I need all these other things. But please invest more time in getting the right people, because the right people can deliver better. It's like an investor in California, an angel investor says, "I don't invest in the idea, because if the idea doesn't work and I have the wrong people, they can't come up with a new idea. I invest in people, because if the first idea doesn't work, they have the ability to come up with the second idea." Okay, so keep in mind investing more time on the people. The second area is plans. You know, remember I said plans are worthless sometimes, but planning is indispensable. But you need to go through the planning process about what you're going to do, because you have to talk credibly about the change and how you're going to make it happen. Because if you can't answer questions about the how you're going to deliver it and the key people involved and how you're going to do it, your credibility is zero, and all you'll be doing is firefighting with people around you. I don't know about you, but in any change, you're not going to get 100% of the people behind you. So you got to have a credible plan to diffuse those stupid questions coming to you because you haven't done your homework. So if you think about it, your plans are a number of things, but basically as a change leader, you're driving, achievement and progress. And if you think about it, you're not going to be able to manage activities. Your job as a leader is managing the achievement of milestones in the steps towards achieving it. When I often gave my people projects to do in the business world, and I gave them a big project, I would give them a bonus if they delivered that project. But I subtracted from the bonus if they missed some of the milestones. Because you know that things are connected in business. If one department misses here, it has an impact sometimes on another department, and it causes problems there. So what I found with the most successful leaders, especially in change, is they are managing direction and pace, achievement and pace. They're not managing activities. Okay, if you're a micromanager and you micromanage change, you are slowing the team down because micromanagement comes with the speed limit. And so keep in mind this, the more everybody understands the milestones, the more they see how their work links at a level where it's meaningful. You can't link activities or you're just going to go nuts. And so if you don't have very good structure into your milestones and what needs to be achieved, you don't have the ability to manage this to keep a strong pace because you need people hitting milestones all the time. And I believe me, if you don't trust some people early on, you better invest some time to follow up the first couple milestones. Because if they get into a pattern of missing them, they're going to keep missing them for a long time. So, you got to be able to think through these things. You got to be able to make sure that you have people committed to the different parts of it, both what they're going to deliver and the milestones. And that who is very, very important. Okay. You need people with who's going to take responsibility. I often do a session about, really getting people to take responsibility. And I have a phrase that I use often. If you don't have a who is the who? If you don't have a who, the who is always you. So, you want people's names. If they gave you a piece of paper and on that piece of paper was your name, you would see your name in a split second because our name is something precious to this. So if you're managing a project, put people's names next to milestones and parts of it and make it extremely visible because now you drive peer pressure. Because when something is visible, people have to deliver or their reputation takes a risk. Okay? And think about it this way too. If your name is next to something on the project and you do a fantastic job and everybody knows it, you feel tremendous pride. So there's two things that you really need to think about in leading a change is creating pride and creating peer pressure. Because for every peer pressure you don't have in the organization, all the pressure has to come from you. Okay, so the best way I found is to make very, very visible commitments around milestones and what people will deliver and dates. And never have a commitment without someone's name next to it. Okay. I remember reading about a general one time, and he ran his organizations on 3 questions. First question, what's the plan? What are you going to achieve and what are the steps? Second question, who's in charge? Who's in charge? He always wanted a who, right? Third question, compared to what? What are you comparing performance to? So as a change leader, you have to describe what good is. What you want to achieve, what does good look like? Because if you don't have a shared understanding of what good looks like, they could be delivering something that you're not going to be happy with later on. So at each milestone, as a change leader, you're reinforcing in people's mind what good should look like. And that's extremely important that way, okay? Because if you're not saying what good should be, they're going to take their own interpretation of what good performance or what that looks like. Okay. So keep in mind that aspect of a plan. But I found that the most successful leaders of change, they only get into the activities when they need to. They're very, very much focused on people delivering milestones and achievement. They're focused on pace and direction. Okay. Now, think about this, is that you want your people to own the change. That's what's so important, to put people's names next to it. And it's why it's so important to make things visible so they see how they're all linked towards creating that change. In other words, you have to bring your people with you. Everybody in the same car. Okay. And the only way they know they have to be in the same car if they see those linkages that way. Okay. I would say one last recommendation on this: as much as you can, always be able to provide a summary on where things are at on one page. Because on one page, you can show it on a screen virtually. Everybody can see their linkages. You might have to go to some detail to describe some things, but you always bring people back to one page. In a COVID environment, whatever you have that goes beyond one page, you start to lose people. So keep in mind, if for a project, you have to have a summary of what everybody's doing and delivering. And sometimes with very critical projects, you have to color code it red, yellow, green, depending on who's delivering. Because, you know, if you're doing a great job and there's lots of green there, you don't have to explain much to your boss when your boss sees all the green. But if your boss sees a lot of red, you've got a lot of explaining to do if people aren't delivering. Okay. So keep in mind that for plans. The last one is politics. Politics is in everything, but politics is really about building strong relationships. If you can't build relationships, you can't influence people. Because, you know, think about it. Everybody's favorite topic is themselves. Everybody's most interesting thing is what they want. It's not what you want. So you're going to have to be able to build relationships that way. And the key thing I found is this. Here's the key question for you. Did Noah start building the ark before or after it started raining? Right? If you know from the Bible, he started building it before it started raining. A lot of times people only start building a relationship when they need something with someone, when the rain is happening and all the problems and to use the American expression, the shit is going to hit the fan, right? Then they start building the relationship. You need to build the relationship from the beginning. You take on any new project, any new change to drive, your first thought should be this: who are the key people I need to build a relationship with, because I need their cooperation and maybe their involvement an impact on my decision making. My boss taught me that. And I build a relationship, I build a list of people, and every week I used to look at the list and ask one question in my head: how am I doing? How strong is that relationship? Because I want that relationship strong if I need them. Okay? So think about this in terms of politics. You need to be in the game to influence the game. And the way you're in the game is by building strong relationships first. Now, the second area of this is about stakeholder management and building people behind you. And if you see in the bottom there, you see a sequence about how you need to talk to people. And when I often do change, I used to teach developing 360-degree influence, and I do some topics around leading change. And I ask people, who should you talk to first? And a lot of times people say the negative people first. And then who should be next or whatever. And they say, well, the neutrals, and then go last to the positives. But here's a tip for you guys in terms of how you approach this. First, you talk to the positives because you want to strengthen their support. but also you want to know why they're positive in helping you make the change. It could be a rational reason in terms of logical reason in terms of it makes sense for their department. It could be an emotional reason because they see an advantage to be there. But I'd say first in any change, know why the stakeholders that are positive for you know why they're positive and strengthen that positive so they're as strong as possible. Now, the second one, usually people say, oh, let's go talk to the neutrals. But you don't want to talk to the neutrals first. And here's the reason why. Neutral by definition means no energy. So you have to create energy to move them. You should talk to the negatives first because you want to know why the negatives are negative. But think about this. If you go into meetings in the future weeks and you never talk to the negative people, they will bring up a negative issue in a meeting and they'll attack you. And they'll attack you very hard because you knew they were negative and they're thinking, you never bothered to talk to me. So I'm going to attack you big time.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to talk to the negatives first. And you're going to have to prove that you've listened. Okay. So first, talk to the positives. Second, talk to the negatives because you want to preempt them from attacking you. And third, the neutrals will just move to wherever the energy is. If the energy for the positive is stronger, they'll move that way. If the energy for the negative is stronger, they'll move that way. Because if I ask you this question, which is easier to motivate? Someone who has energy and you just redirect it or to drive change, or someone who doesn't have any energy and you have to create it? It's more difficult to create it. And I'll give you one last story about this. Very successful entrepreneur in America. He built the largest boutique hotel business in America. And he looked at one set of numbers for each hotel first. The number of good people he had, the number of poor people, and the number of average people. If the number of good people was greater than the number of poor people, the culture was going up. If the number of poor people was greater than the number of great people, good people, the culture was going down. The neutral, the average people, they move to where the dominant energy is. Okay? So a tip for you guys, don't waste time with the neutrals. They will automatically move to where the dominant energy is. Focus on the positives, strengthen their support, listen to the negatives so they don't attack you, and you're much better off. Okay? And so remember this one. Also, you got a lot of advantages when you work with stakeholders when you ask for their input. Ask for input or advice, and people naturally want their advice to be successful. So whenever you're trying to drive change and you want support from stakeholders or from anybody, ask for their input or their advice, and they have a tendency to support the whole project because they want their input or their advice to be successful. So asking for input or advice is not a weakness. It's a strategic way of influence to get people's support. I had often people support my project. They didn't believe in the whole thing, but they wanted their part of the input to be successful. So they helped me. Okay. So invest in asking for input, especially those negative people, because if you use the negative input, if you use input from them, they're going to help support it, even though they're actually against it, because now they see something of their own ideas that you used. Okay. So strategically, asking for advice and input in any change project is a great influencing technique. And lastly, learn to play positive politics. You need to be in the game to influence the game. And it's about playing positively. trying to align each other's focuses. And the number one thing that you guys mentioned about, I heard it a number of times in terms of emotional intelligence and listening. If you don't have the ability to listen, you will never, ever be great at playing politics, because you don't know what they want until you listen to what they want. And you don't have a way to package what you want inside what they want unless you first listen. Okay. So as much as you can, the number one skill of playing politics is the questions you ask, because the quality of your questions drive what you get to understand and what you can use for your leverage and your influence. So, you know, the best thing you can do in your prep is to prep your questions. That's very powerful that way. So keep in mind some of the things we covered here. Want to give you some time for some peer coaching, but just as a wrap up, a couple of things I want to share with you. We talked about some things here. Here's an illustration. When you get the presentation materials, you can get an illustration of talking about some of the concepts we just talked about, the 3 Ps. Because I did a leading change virtual masterclass a while ago, and I had a illustration done. So when you get the materials, here you have a great one-pager to remind yourself of some key. The second thing I just wanted to cover with you very quickly is the 6 Ps. If you really want to drive successful change, you better be great at running meetings. And I'll give you these 6 Ps very quickly in terms of driving change. The first one is you got to do your preparation. Don't wing it in terms of meetings. You know, do your preparation. What do you want to achieve and so forth? The second thing, performance. Bring energy. If you don't bring energy, especially in the first minute, especially in virtual calls, if you don't show energy in the first couple minutes, you're going to lose people. So bring your own energy around it. Be great at paraphrasing. Not everybody in your team can articulate their idea clearly. Paraphrase it so everybody in the team can understand quickly, and you'll save a lot of time. Prompting. Especially in certain cultures, people don't like to talk. People don't speak up. If people aren't speaking, you're never using the full power of the team. So you're going to have to prompt some people, because sometimes your introverts and your quiet people have some great ideas that people can build upon. So you're going to have to prompt. But you're going to also have to preempt. If you know someone's going to talk negative on something, especially those negative people, stakeholders, you should go visit them, listen to them. And then when they start to speak in your meeting, you cut them off politely and say, no, John, didn't we talk about this the other day? Isn't your issue this? And you say something in a very neutral way, and you don't destroy the meeting, right? Because you know, there's part of the world, there's these problem explainers, right? All they want to do is talk about the problems. They don't want to talk about it. And the third one is position, right? You want to be in the right position. Now, I'll give you a tip. When you go back to face-to-face meetings and you're having a meeting and people are starting to talk too much or whatever, here's an interesting one. If you're having like a U-shaped meeting room and so forth, you're driving a discussion, go and just stand in front of that person for 5 or 6 seconds. You take them out of the conversation because they can't participate. So how you position yourself in the room is very important. If you're leading a discussion, you have to be in the middle of things. If your people are discussing great without you, stand on the side. Let them do it. So there's some aspects of that. But I would say the number one thing that change leaders fail to do is they fail to prepare. If you show up prepared to when you run your meetings, you'll be able to control and manage the meetings much, much more successfully. Okay. So you want to drive your conversations in the direction of really delivering the change that way. So what we'd like to do is give you just 2 minutes. Think about what you take away from today. Reflection. It's the opportunity to give yourself advice. So think about, what could you do more of? What are you already doing same as, but now you know why you should do it? What should you do less of? And so forth. So just take a minute or so, do your own reflection. What do you take away from today? Okay. Okay, what I'd like you to do is like you to circle the most important one, because if you can make a habit out of it, you're going to be much more successful. So circle the most important takeaway from today. And what we're going to do is we're going to put you into groups, and we're going to do something called peer coaching. Peer coaching is based on feed forward. Feed forward is not like feedback. Feedback is, you did this wrong, don't do it again. Feed forward is, I'd like to do this. Do you have any ideas? So what we're gonna do is we'll put you into groups for maybe 6 or 7 minutes. What I'd like you to do is share with each other what's your most important takeaway, and then discuss how can you take more action on it. Help each other with ideas to take action. So we'll put you into groups. We'll give you 6 or 7 minutes to do this, and then we'll bring you back and wrap up. And there was just one other question here about, I saw at the bottom here, how do you handle people and motivate them if you can't give them a bonus? Align change to their potential, as I said earlier today. Potential is the underutilized discussion. Okay, so we'll put you into the groups, 6 or 7 minutes, share your takeaway, help each other with ideas to go make it happen.
Right, I'm just going to open the rooms now, and you'll just click join as soon as you get the invite, like we did before.
Yeah.
So Flo and Marlon, how do you think the ideas were there? Do you pick up any other few ones?
I'm totally loving it, and I think the engagement is certainly a good sign of food for thought.
Good.
Challenging to go deeper into the thinking process, and I think for me as well, some of the things that we take for granted, providing a framework for that. So yeah, and I think it's been a great session, and I'm also reading the comments that are coming through. Some people are just sad to leave. We've never had that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, we have to go. So sorry.
I've never seen so many people announcing why they have to go and go away. So
yeah, they're very, very impactful.
Yeah, that's a sign of high impact for me.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So when we come back, I'm going to share some of the resources that I'm providing.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I will offer them, if they want, daily reminders.
Yeah.
Okay. they can do the daily reminder. I will give it, all they have to do is send me an email or a WhatsApp with their mobile number and name for that. So
Yeah, perfect. That'd be great.
and then if there's any questions, I can stay on a little bit longer if there's extra questions or whatever. It depends on how you want to do it.
Okay, I think we'll provide, because it's 20 past now, so there might be that need a little bit later on, and looking at the levels of engagement, definitely, I think we need to offer that at the end.
Yeah. So I have an extra half hour before my next call.
Perfect.
Okay. That's great. Thank you for the offer, Mark. That's
yeah.
awesome. Mm.
So if we bring them back at, so they're back in the room by 25 after, that gives me time to just share the resources.
Perfect.
And then you can offer them that I'll stay on if they have questions.
That's it.
Perfect.
And then if you field the questions first for me, that'd be great. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We'll do that. How many rooms in total do you have, Flo? How many rooms?
There are 12.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so it's about four to five per room. The ones who joined, it might be 3 to 4 in some rooms.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
But Mark, I think I have a new favorite comment. So before you said to me what really stood out, and I have a new one. So when you said, if you don't have a who, the who is you. It's so powerful. So very powerful.
If you don't have a who, the who is always you.
Yes, and then leaders wonder why they're running around like chickens without a head, because they are the who.
That's it.
They haven't.
If the who is always the leaders, you're slowing the team down.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know how I see it playing out. In many projects, I've been
working on one-to-one on a group face-to-face basis. Hi, Marlon.
Hey guys, this is my favorite group to visit. How are you doing?
Really? Why is that?
No, I'm just here to observe. Right? Please carry on.
Okay.
All right.
So what about you, Kudzi?
Yeah, so for me, one of the most important things I noted there was preempting the problem explainers. You always have one of those.
Hold on.
Okay. And then it becomes like fashionable to be extra busy all the time.
Yeah.
I just find that language is exhausting. When I listen to a leader that cannot switch off, I'm thinking, but you're not doing yourself any favors, or the project, or the organization. You're not indispensable. Nobody is.
Oh my word! Yeah.
Yeah. Should I start closing the rooms, I think?
I think one more minute. Yeah, you should give them the minute.
Because it takes a minute to close anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna click close. They'll start coming. They've got a minute from now. Then they'll.
Flo, I just sent on WhatsApp the illustration.
All right.
Perfect.
We'll share it.
All right. And Rory, you had a question.
No, I was just going to say I'm back already because I sat there all by myself. So I used.
Oh, shame! No one else joined you.
I can't do alone. It's like giving lockdown.
So you had a conversation between me, myself, and I.
Listen, I was positive, I was negative, I was neutral.
If I had realized, I would have moved you.
You'd see.
Yeah. Thanks, Rory. That's a good lesson learned for the next breakout rooms. I'll be like, who's by themselves? Who's got people that haven't joined?
Yeah, because I guess your randomization doesn't necessarily, I mean, some people have to click to join, but maybe people were leaving the program.
Yes, and in some cases, the people are there, but they can't join for maybe a logistical reason.
Yes.
So yes, next time I'll look out for people like Rory and move you.
You see, I'm always a learner, hey?
Yeah.
That's so
okay. Is
I
everybody
think we're
back?
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
We actually
keep in
forced
mind
Barry.
that this peer coaching is something you can do in all your teams because it's not threatening. It's just helping ideas with each other, and it's always a very positive discussion that way. So just a couple things to finish off. One thing to remember: confident people take more action. So if you're leading an organization or leading a change, leave people feeling taller after talking with you.
Yeah.
Right? Focus on building their confidence because confident people take more action, confident take on challenges more. So, even if you have to give some feedback or other things, end conversations with people feeling more confident and more taller. That is absolutely critical, especially when you're driving change.
Yeah.
A couple resources for you. Here's what I found of the best, how would you say, behaviors for leaders. Good leaders can lead themselves well. They can influence others and they can drive change. But there's one particular behavior I want to highlight. Fifth one down under influence others. If you're driving change, you're going to have to face difficult conversations. Difficult conversations are not like wine, right? They don't get better with time. And you have fewer options the more you delay them. So have the courage to have difficult conversations sooner, and life will be much easier. Okay? It's actually one of the key enablers around change too. So think about this. Starts with you. If you can influence others, you magnify your impact. If you can drive change, you magnify your legacy. Okay, so keep in mind those. Well, you'll get this when you get the materials.
Yeah.
The other thing here is influence reference sheet. I studied all the top gurus of the world in terms of the brain and influence, including the most ethical internet marketers. And here's what I found in terms of driving change to make things happen. So think about this for yourself in terms of what factors you can use. Okay. And one thing we were talking while people were in the breakout room was these decision factors. These decision factors, there's 3 reasons why people make decisions. They do them based on facts because it seems logical. They do it based on feeling because it feels true. Or they do it based on faith because it matches their beliefs. So in different parts of the world, faith and feeling is much stronger. All right. And so keep in mind that when you're trying to influence people around change, it's not always logical why they will support you or why they will be against you. Okay. There could be other factors too. And that's what I found in terms of decision. And the last thing here is these are my contact details. But there's one other thing I offer all the time when I do sessions. In other words, I offer reminders. And so what I can do is I can create a special WhatsApp group for the attendees of today's session. And each weekday for the next 6 to 8 weeks or so, you'll get a reminder of some ideas around leadership or things we covered today. Because often, you attend a session like this, I got some great ideas. 5 minutes later, the world hits you and you forget them all. And it's until you get reminded that you go, oh yeah. And if you get reminded enough, you start to take more action. So you can do it. All you have to do is send me an email or a WhatsApp with your name and mobile number, and I will add you to this group. And so each weekday, you would get a daily reminder. And you can see some of the comments of what people said about the reminders that way. But I do it with all the things I do these days because this session is an activity. The outcome of this session is you guys taking action. Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you Flo and Marlon, for the opportunity to share with this with you guys. And it's my pleasure. And please do sign up for the daily reminders if you'd like to get these. They will be interesting, illustrations or short videos or quick ideas. It'll be something that you can share with your team as well.
That's it. All right, thank you very much, Mark, I think for helping us untangle the web that is people plan politics. And I think a lot of people like me were interested in the area that we avoid the most, which is the politics part. Thank you so much for that. For the rest of you, I know we've reached 12:30, the allocated time. Mark has, however, volunteered to stay on for 4 minutes. So if you have questions, you'd like to ask, please do stay on for a few more minutes. We have his presence a little bit longer, and we have shared with you the link for the presentation. We will provide a similar link as well for the recording. And if you have any queries, I've also provided my contact details as well. So you can reach me via the WhatsApp or call directly, or use the email that I sent earlier on, or you can go through to our website, which is www.hucmi.com. All right, so thank you so much. And Mark, so those of you who would remain, please, it's an open session. You can ask questions freely. Just remember to unmute. All right, great stuff. Or we can use the chat for a few more minutes.
Hello, Marlon, this is Dima.
Hi, Dima, how are you?
I'm good. We just catched up like a minute ago when you joined our group for a second.
Okay,
Group 5.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
All right, where are you from? Where are you from, Dima?
I'm Canadian of Lebanese origin, and right now I'm in UAE.
Excellent, beautiful.
And apologies for not opening the camera. It's a day off, so I wasn't prepared to open it. Excuse me?
Mark, did you make a comment?
Please go on. Please go on now.
Carry on. Carry on, Dima.
I'm really interested. Hello, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Mark.
I can't hear you.
Oh, we could hear you perfectly. Maybe.
Hold on, I'll come back in again.
All right, perfect. Dima, just give Mark a few seconds.
Sure.
Sorry about that. I think he may have just had a voice issue there.
Great stuff. And it's with quite a number. I think if you get to talk, I'm really curious to find out where you're dialing in from. Right.
Me, I'm dialing from Dubai.
Dubai, perfect.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Are you in Dubai for a project, or did you move to Dubai? Because you mentioned 3 countries already, hey?
Yeah, I live around the world.
That's amazing.
And I'm right now for a project, but the plan is to move to be based in Dubai for
okay.
I wouldn't say permanently, but like I say, for next few years. Hello, Mark, you're back. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, thank you, Mark, for this amazing workshop. And definitely, I'll be quoting you. Sunday, I have a workshop on change management. I'm building the change management skills for our change champions on my project. And there are lots of good insights that I would like to update my my workshop into. I will quote you on these things. So and one more thing, I'm very much interested. That's why I'm asking about HUCMI. What is it? How can we be members? And I believe you're bringing a lot of good stuff to humankind, because change management is all about human. We put humans at center, right? So, and exactly it's what you're doing, human change. So how can we have more, can we have more information about this specifically?
Okay. We do have the global director. So Vicente, if you can just respond to that very quickly.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, actually, you can visit us on hucmi.com. where you can find articles, and you can also download our books, the HUCMI, the Human Change Management Body of Knowledge. And you are right, it's human, because we do believe that all changes start with human being and then move to organizational change. You can also download our last book, which is about change management for agile projects. And we have quite fresh and innovative concepts of agile change management. And I just want to say, think about change. Change is always about people. Your projects are means to reach the change. It's your projects depend on people, and you're delivering a product or a service to people, to your clients, to your stakeholders that are people. So if you don't understand about the human being, the human behavior, how to manage change throughout people or with people and not instead of people, maybe you will not succeed, or it's going to be at least easier to have a high engagement, a high level of engagement and low level of resistance. That's the idea of the Human Change Management Institute. And I use this opportunity to say thank you very much, Marlon, Florence, and especially Mark. It was very insightful, very inspiring for me. I've learned a lot. I took a lot of notes. It was difficult for me sometimes to watch the presentation and take notes at the same time.
Yeah.
But I invite you all to follow us and keep in touch. We have a presence in all social medias, in our YouTube channel, and just keep in touch. We have our training programs like the HUCMI training and certification program, and the HUCMI to Agile certification program as well. And it's always about human being and change.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicente.
Okay. Any other additional questions?
Yeah, I have a question for Mark. Well, thanks very much for the opportunity to participate. I'm sorry for being late, but my takeaway is the thing on the neutral people in the meeting, and you mentioned on the 6 Ps thing, the preempt, that I didn't actually understand. But my question is, even if I didn't understand, is how do you engage people when you're in a virtual meetings like we are being right now? Because only 7% of communication is voice. So the rest of it is body language. And for example, I have Wednesday that I have Zoom meetings from 9:30 till 5 p.m., one after the other.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'll just share you the preempting is a way of, if you know someone is going to be really negative coming into a meeting, and you know that they could say a negative and they could destroy the tone of the meeting, they could destroy where the meeting is going to go listen to them for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just talk with them, understand what their issue is, and then politely, when they start to bring the issue up, and say, no, Jim, didn't we talk about this the other day? I think your issue is this, and you say it in a very neutral way. It's very impolite to interrupt someone you never listened to. But if you invested time to listen to them, you kind of earn the right to interrupt them a little bit and explain it in a much more powerful, neutral way. Now, so now meetings is interesting. Think about this. Have you ever heard this expression in business? We need a meeting to discuss something, right? All the time. You frame the meetings in terms of discussion, but it's not an outcome. It's an activity. Meetings are either decisions, actions, or alignment, because meetings are for progress. If you make progress without a meeting, you don't need a meeting. So to think about this, the meeting should be part of how you make progress. So in terms of engagement, it's sometimes what you do before or after the meeting that is the most powerful.
Right.
Also, if you want influence in a meeting, your key is asking questions to get people to verbalize what you want them to take on or take action on or whatever. So I found in a virtual world is you got to get people talking somewhat during it, because when they talk, the event is more memorable to them. When they participated, it's more memorable. When you send a quick WhatsApp message or a text message reinforcing the point, it's more memorable, right? If you call them up 2 days later, 5-minute call, you'd say, remember this issue, it's so important. It's more memorable than just typing thing on an email and so forth. So look at meetings not as an event, I mean, or as a, you know, you're going to do everything. It's just one step in the way you want to make progress that way. And also in a virtual world, you have to cut your meetings in half in terms of size of people and also length of time. You know, if you have a half-hour meeting, people are more reluctant to come late to a half-hour meeting than they would an hour meeting. And if you have an hour meeting all the time and so forth, people are wasting time. And they're also leaving the meeting early, or you run over a little bit because they have to get to the next meeting. So what I found with very successful organizations is their meeting times are shorter, focused about what they want to achieve. And the leaders are great at preparing and following up meetings with quick messages here or there to keep things being more memorable. One other thing interesting to say here, whenever I was traveling in international, I was always asking the general manager of the subsidiary I was going to, what, you know, who are your superstars? And I wanted to learn from superstars. I took a superstar salesperson out for a beer one time to learn in that country. And he said, I owe all my success to one phrase. If the customer or prospect is talking, I'm winning. They're selling themselves. It's the same in running meetings. Try to organize a way for people to speak up, because people who verbalize something take more ownership for what they verbalize than if other ways. But
Okay,
you know,
got it.
cut your meeting size in half.
Mark.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Just just something that I'm thinking. We have been prepared to talk in many trainings. You are prepared to talk to a great audiences, and but we are not really prepared to listen to people.
Yeah.
And I guess that communication in terms of change management is also about listening to people. This is a great way to create connection. And what you're saying sounds like music for me. That's what we have been practicing, and that's exactly what we do have, and we do suggest in our HUCMI. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listening is the fuel for influence. It's the fuel.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. No, great stuff. So if we can have maybe 2 more questions. I'm also aware that Mark has got other engagements shortly. I'll take 2 more questions, or any contributions, or you know, any comments as well. Anyone?
Marlon, I believe there was a question in the chat earlier. I think it was from Kudzai Kunaka. I don't know if he's still on the call, but he had asked Mark to say, what is your perspective on tips you can give to leaders who need to lead other leaders?
That's it.
What need to lead other leaders is your goal should be continually coaching them. And you got to learn to let go, which means that you're going to have to delegate more, and think about what you delegate in terms of them growing. The key thing that I found with leaders is it's easy for you to delegate what you don't like to do. But you need to delegate something you like to do to let your people grow faster. And so I found that if you're leading a leader, you're going to have to start letting go of something you like to do. Because if you like doing it and you're probably good at it, you're in your comfort zone. So you're just coasting. But if you delegate it to your people, they're learning and growing and they're out of their comfort zone and so forth. And so here's a tip. As you keep climbing, you have to let go of something you like to do because you have to grow into the next job. And I found that the best leaders are willing to see their people do it and not for themselves to do it. So it's all around delegation because that's how they grow faster. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Great stuff. So one more.
Allow me to.
Hey, George, here we go. I'm loving
One
your
more from
energy. Hey,
George.
I'm loving your energy. Go for it. You're on mute. We're not.
I'm not on mute.
Oh, you're good now. We can hear you.
Now you can hear.
Oh, man.
Okay, something's changed, George. Your sound. Just check your
Sound
audio.
is-
It was good, and then it went somewhere.
Yeah.
You can hear me now?
Yes, that's better. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Let me shoot straight. When you find that you are in a situation that you are better than the leader that is your leader, and half the time you're criticizing their motions and what they're doing, how do you handle such like a situation? Chances are that your survival there could just be.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful because when you criticize too much, the boss expects the next thing you do will be to criticize. You're looking at everything with you as red, whatever you say. So your goal is to ask questions that lead your boss in a different way. And oftentimes bosses who don't do the right thing are always worried about what other people think. So if you frame things in terms of, well, this perception, this won't be perceived very well here, or this won't be perceived very well there, you can influence them to a different alternative. Okay. So I would say is that I found strong people, they don't care about what other people think. But weak people and people who don't come to good conclusions generally are more concerned about how they are liked or not liked and vice versa, versus looking at things from a business perspective and a logical. So I found that try to ask questions for them to steer them a different way. Because if you're always critical, then they expect the next thing you say will be critical, and they're always looking at the worst of what you're saying, and they're never looking at the positive. Yeah.
Excellent. Great stuff, guys. We could go on, eh? Thank you so much.
Let me ask a question to everybody who's still on the call.
Yeah.
Type into the chat function your number one takeaway from today. Okay, so whoever's in the call, type in your number one takeaway from today.
Excellent. All right.
Let's see what people take away.
Go for it.
Yeah, don't invest in the neutrals.
I must say, that was also my takeaway, yeah. Choose to spend your time wisely, yeah.
I think in general, we are always looking for have everybody on board, and you invest too much time in people that is neutral, and that is my takeaway.
Yeah, they'll come automatically. They'll
like
come
that.
automatically. You
Right.
need to listen to the negatives for sure. I mean, or else they'll attack you when it hurts the most.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And I'm sure we've all found ourselves in situations where we rock up for meetings and those people that were supporting us, no longer supporting us, you know, being caught by surprise. So I think that's a very important lesson as well. All right, I see more things coming through as well.
Yeah.
Careful with critics. Listening is fuel for leadership. Get people that think in options like that. Empower with positives first. Focusing on people that came up again. Or people as leaders, manage achievements and pace, not activities. Excellent. Excellent, guys. It's been great. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to interacting with you. We've got, I think, most of your names on our databases. And we will be, if you had a problem just downloading, we'll send directly to you. And we'll use our database for that as well. All right. Go well. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Good. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.